There's something I want you to understand right now, in this very moment. Everything that has ever happened to you, every single experience, every challenge, every seeming setback, every moment of confusion or doubt has been working in your favor. You might not see it yet. You might be sitting there thinking about all the things that went wrong, all the plans that fell apart, all the dreams that seemed to crumble right before your eyes. But I'm telling you with absolute certainty that when you shift the way you look at things, the things you look at shift. Acting as if everything always works out for you isn't about lying to yourself. It's not about pretending that difficulties don't exist or that life doesn't present challenges. It's about understanding a fundamental truth about the universe and your place in it. It's about recognizing that you are not a victim of circumstances, but rather a co-creator of your reality. The moment you begin to act as if everything is conspiring in your favor, something miraculous happens. The universe begins to rearrange itself to match your expectations. Let me tell you what I mean by this. When you wake up in the morning and you automatically assume that things are going to go wrong, what happens? You find evidence everywhere to support that belief. Someone cuts you off in traffic, and you say, "See, I knew today was going to be terrible." Your coffee spills, and you think, "Why does this always happen to me?" You're looking for confirmation of your belief, and the universe is happy to provide it. But here's the thing, the same mechanism works in reverse. When you act as if everything is working out perfectly for you, you start to notice all the ways in which life is supporting you. You see the opportunities instead of the obstacles. You recognize the blessings instead of the burdens. This isn't positive thinking in the shallow sense. This goes much deeper than that. This is about understanding that your thoughts create your reality. Not in some mystical, magical way, but in a very practical, observable way. Your thoughts determine your perception, and your perception determines your experience. If you believe that life is hard and that you have to struggle for everything, then that will be your experience. If you believe that the universe is abundant and that good things flow to you naturally, then that will be your experience. I know what some of you are thinking right now. You're thinking about the real problems you face, the bills that need to be paid, the relationships that are struggling, the health issues you're dealing with, the dreams that seem so far away, and you're wondering how acting as if everything works out could possibly help with any of that. But that's exactly where the power lies. When you act as if everything always works out for you, you stop resisting what is, you stop fighting against reality, and when you stop resisting, you open yourself up to solutions that were there all along, but you couldn't see them because you were too busy being afraid. Fear is the great obstacle. Fear tells you that you need to control everything. Fear tells you that if you don't worry about it, it won't get handled. Fear tells you that optimism is naive and that you need to be realistic. But what fear doesn't tell you is that it's keeping you stuck in the very situations you're trying to escape from. When you operate from fear, you make decisions from a place of lack. You attract more of what you don't want because you're focused on what you don't want. You create a self-fulfilling prophecy of struggle and hardship. Acting as if everything always works out for you is an act of faith, but it's also an act of intelligence. It's intelligent because it allows you to tap into your highest potential. When you're not weighted down by fear and anxiety, your mind works better. You think more clearly, you're more creative. You see possibilities that were invisible to you before. You take actions that are aligned with your desires rather than your fears, and those actions lead to different results. Let me share something with you about trust. Trust is not believing that everything will turn out exactly the way you want it to. Trust is knowing that however things turn out, you'll be okay. Trust is understanding that sometimes what looks like a disaster is actually a doorway to something better. How many times in your life has something not worked out the way you wanted, only to realize later that it was the best thing that could have happened? That relationship that ended opened the door for you to meet someone who was a much better match. That job you didn't get led you to a career path you never would have considered otherwise. That health crisis forced you to make changes that improved your life in ways you never expected. The universe has an intelligence that's far greater than your individual ego mind. Your ego thinks it knows what's best for you. It has a plan, and it wants everything to go according to that plan. But the universe sees the bigger picture. It knows what you truly need, not just what you think you want. When you act as if everything always works out for you, you're acknowledging this greater intelligence. You're saying, I trust that there's a wisdom at work here that's beyond my limited understanding, and that trust allows you to relax into life instead of constantly fighting against it. Now, I want to be very clear about something. Acting as if everything always works out for you doesn't mean you become passive. It doesn't mean you sit around and wait for good things to happen. It means you take inspired action. You move forward with confidence, knowing that your actions are supported by the universe. You do your part, and then you trust that the universe will do its part. You plant the seeds, you water them, you give them sunlight, and then you trust that they will grow. You don't dig them up every day to check on them. You don't worry and fret about whether they're growing fast enough. You trust the process. This is where so many people get stuck. They want to control every aspect of the outcome. They want to know exactly how things are going to unfold and exactly when, but that's not how life works. Life is a mystery. It's meant to unfold in ways that surprise and delight us. When you try to control everything, you squeeze out all the magic. You leave no room for serendipity, for synchronicity, for those miraculous moments when the universe delivers something even better than what you had planned. I've learned over the years that the more you try to force things, the more they resist you. But when you relax and allow, when you act as if everything is working out perfectly, things flow, doors open that you didn't even know existed. People show up in your life at exactly the right moment. Resources appear when you need them. It's not magic, although it can feel magical. It's alignment. When you align your thoughts, your beliefs, and your expectations with the abundant nature of the universe, you tap into a flow that's always been there, waiting for you to notice it. Let me tell you about the power of assumption. Whatever you assume to be true becomes true in your experience. If you assume that people are generally good and trustworthy, you'll have experiences that confirm that belief. If you assume that people are out to get you, you'll have experiences that confirm that belief too. Both assumptions create a self-reinforcing cycle. But here's what's really interesting. You get to choose which assumption you make. You get to decide whether you're going to assume the best or assume the worst. And acting as if everything always works out for you is simply choosing to assume the best. Some people think this is naive. They think it's important to be prepared for the worst. But let me ask you something. Has worrying about the worst-case scenario ever actually prevented it from happening? Has anxiety ever solved a single problem? Or has it just made you miserable while you waited to see what would happen? The truth is, worrying doesn't protect you. It doesn't prepare you. It just depletes your energy and robs you of your peace of mind. Acting as if everything works out for you, on the other hand, gives you energy. It fills you with confidence and optimism. And that positive energy actually does help you handle whatever comes your way. Think about a time when you were facing a challenge, but you felt confident that you could handle it. Maybe you didn't know exactly how you were going to handle it, but you just had this inner knowing that you would figure it out. How did that feel? Didn't it feel so much better than being paralyzed by fear and doubt? And didn't that confidence actually help you find solutions? That's what I'm talking about. When you act as if everything always works out for you, you tap into that confidence. You access your inner resources. You become solution-oriented instead of problem-focused. The beautiful thing about this approach to life is that it becomes easier the more you practice it. At first, it might feel like you're faking it. You might have to consciously remind yourself to act as if things are working out. You might catch yourself falling into old patterns of worry and doubt. But every time you catch yourself and choose a different thought, you're rewiring your brain. You're creating new neural pathways. You're training yourself to default to trust instead of fear. And over time, it becomes more natural. It becomes who you are. I want you to understand something about your past. Whatever has happened to you in the past, whatever mistakes you've made, whatever traumas you've experienced, they don't have to define your future. The past is over. It's done. The only power it has over you is the power you give it through your thoughts. When you keep replaying old hurts and disappointments, you're keeping them alive. You're recreating them in your present moment. But when you act as if everything always works out for you, you're making a different choice. You're choosing to focus on possibility instead of limitation. You're choosing to let go of the story that says you're damaged or unlucky or destined to struggle. Let me tell you something about your story. You are the author of your life story. You get to decide what it means. You can interpret your past experiences as evidence that life is hard and unfair, or you can interpret them as lessons that have made you stronger and wiser. Both interpretations are valid. Both are true in their own way, but only one of them serves you. Only one of them empowers you to create a better future. When you act as if everything always works out for you, you're choosing the interpretation that serves you. You're choosing to see yourself as someone who overcomes challenges, who learns and grows, who becomes more through every experience. Now, I know that some of you have experienced real trauma, real pain, real loss, and I'm not suggesting that you should just gloss over that or pretend it didn't happen. What I'm suggesting is that you don't have to let those experiences define you. You don't have to carry them around like a heavy burden for the rest of your life. You can acknowledge what happened, you can feel your feelings about it, and then you can make a choice about how you're going to move forward. You can choose to act as if, despite everything that's happened, life is still working out for you. You can choose to believe that even the painful experiences have served a purpose in your growth and evolution. There's a principle in physics that says energy flows where attention goes. Whatever you focus on expands. If you focus on problems, you'll see more problems. If you focus on solutions, you'll find more solutions. If you focus on what's wrong with your life, that's what will dominate your experience. But if you focus on what's working, on what's good, on what's possible, that will expand instead. Acting as if everything always works out for you is a way of directing your attention toward what you want to experience more of. It's a way of training your mind to look for the positive, to seek out the good, to notice the ways in which life is supporting you. This doesn't mean you ignore real problems or challenges. It means you approach them from a different mindset. Instead of asking, "Why is this happening to me?" you ask, "What is this teaching me?" Instead of thinking this is terrible, you think, "How can I use this for my growth?" Instead of feeling like a victim, you recognize yourself as a powerful creator who is fully capable of handling whatever comes your way. This shift in perspective changes everything. It changes how you feel, what actions you take, and ultimately what results you create. Let me tell you about the nature of the universe. The universe is not random. It's not chaotic. There's an order to it, an intelligence that permeates everything. Some people call it God, some call it Source, some call it the Tao or universal consciousness. The name doesn't matter. What matters is understanding that you are part of this intelligence. You're not separate from it. You're an expression of it. And because you're an expression of this universal intelligence, you have the same creative power within you. When you act as if everything always works out for you, you're aligning yourself with this creative power. You're working with the universe instead of against it. Think about nature for a moment. Everything in nature trusts the process. The acorn doesn't worry about whether it will become an oak tree, it just grows. The caterpillar doesn't doubt that it will become a butterfly. It just transforms. The seasons don't question whether they should change. They just flow from one to the next. Everything in nature operates on trust, on an innate knowing that everything is unfolding exactly as it should. And you are part of nature. You have that same innate wisdom within you. But somewhere along the way, you learn to override it with doubt and fear. Acting as if everything always works out for you is a way of reconnecting with that innate wisdom. It's a way of coming back into alignment with your true nature. I want to talk to you about gratitude for a moment, because gratitude and trust go hand in hand. When you're grateful for what is, you're acknowledging that things are working out for you. You're recognizing the abundance that's already present in your life. And that recognition creates more to be grateful for. Gratitude is a powerful magnet for good things. When you focus on what you appreciate, you attract more experiences that make you feel appreciative. It's a beautiful, self-reinforcing cycle. But it starts with a choice. It starts with deciding to notice what's good instead of fixating on what's lacking. Acting as if everything always works out for you includes being grateful for challenges, because challenges make you stronger. It includes being grateful for disappointments, because disappointments redirect you toward better paths. It includes being grateful for the times when things didn't go according to your plan, because those times taught you flexibility and resilience. When you can find gratitude even in difficulty, you've mastered the art of trusting life. You've understood that it's all working for your benefit, even when it doesn't feel that way in the moment. Let me share something with you about expectations. Your expectations shape your reality in profound ways. If you expect people to disappoint you, they usually will. If you expect opportunities to pass you by, they usually do. But if you expect good things to happen, if you expect people to be kind, if you expect opportunities to come your way, that becomes your experience instead. This isn't because the universe is magically giving you what you expect. It's because your expectations determine what you notice and how you interpret what happens. They also influence your behavior in subtle ways that create self-fulfilling prophecies. When you expect things to work out, you take different actions than when you expect them to fail. You show up differently. You communicate differently. You're more open, more receptive, more willing to take chances. And that openness creates opportunities. Acting as if everything always works out for you is a way of setting a positive expectation. It's a way of priming yourself for success. It's like telling the universe, I'm ready to receive good things. I'm open to miracles. I trust that you've got my back. And when you send out that message, the universe responds. Now, I want to address something that might be coming up for some of you. You might be thinking, but what if I act as if everything works out and then something goes wrong? Won't I be disappointed? And my answer is this. Disappointment comes from rigid attachment to specific outcomes. When you act as if everything always works out for you, you're not attached to things happening in a particular way. You're trusting that whatever happens is ultimately for your highest good. So even if something doesn't go the way you hoped, you can still maintain your trust. You can still know that it's working out, even if you can't see how yet. This is about developing a long-term perspective. In the short term, something might look like a failure or a setback, but in the long term, it might be exactly what you needed. The job rejection that felt devastating might have saved you from a toxic work environment. The relationship that ended might have freed you to meet your true partner. The business that failed might have taught you lessons that made your next venture successful. You can't always see the value in the moment, but when you trust that everything is working out, you give yourself permission to wait for the bigger picture to reveal itself. Let me tell you about resistance. Resistance is what happens when you fight against what is. It's the mental and emotional struggle that comes from wanting things to be different than they are. And resistance is exhausting. It drains your energy, it keeps you stuck. Acting as if everything always works out for you is the opposite of resistance. It's acceptance, it's surrender. Not the kind of surrender that means giving up, but the kind that means letting go of the need to control. When you surrender in this way, when you accept what is and trust that it's working out for you, you free up enormous amounts of energy. Energy that you can then use to create, to grow, to take inspired action. Think about water for a moment. Water doesn't resist. When it encounters an obstacle, it flows around it. It finds a way. It doesn't struggle or fight. It just adapts and keeps moving. And eventually, that soft, flowing water can wear down the hardest stone. That's the power of non-resistance. That's what happens when you act as if everything always works out for you. You stop banging your head against walls. You stop trying to force things. You become like water, adapting, flowing, trusting that you'll find your way. I want you to understand something about your worthiness. You don't have to earn the right to have things work out for you. You don't have to be perfect or do everything right or prove yourself in any way. Things working out for you is your natural state. It's your birthright. You are a beloved child of the universe, and the universe wants good things for you. Not because you've earned it, but because that's the nature of the universe. It's abundant, it's generous, it's always creating, always expanding, always moving toward more life, more love, more beauty, more goodness. When you act as if everything always works out for you, you're not being arrogant or entitled. You're simply acknowledging your true nature as a creator, as a being of infinite worth and potential. You're stepping into the truth of who you are. And from that place of knowing your worth, from that place of trusting that you deserve good things, you naturally attract better experiences. You make better choices. You tolerate less nonsense. You set better boundaries. You pursue your dreams with more conviction. Everything shifts when you know, really know, that you are worthy of having things work out for you. Let me talk to you about failure for a moment, because the fear of failure stops so many people from acting as if everything works out. They're afraid that if they trust and then things don't work out, they'll have been foolish. They'll have been naive. They'll have set themselves up for disappointment. But here's the truth about failure. There's no such thing. There are only outcomes. Some outcomes teach you what works, and some teach you what doesn't work. Both are valuable. Both move you forward. The only real failure is not trying, not learning, not growing. When you act as if everything always works out for you, you reframe what failure means. It's not a catastrophe. It's not a reflection of your worth. It's just feedback. It's information. It's the universe saying, not that way. Try this way instead. And when you can see failure as feedback rather than as a judgment, you become unstoppable. You try things. You take risks. You put yourself out there. And yes, sometimes things don't work out the way you planned. But you learn from those experiences, you adjust, and you keep moving forward. And that's how success is built, through a series of attempts, adjustments, and forward movement, all supported by the underlying trust that it's all working out for you. Now, I want to address the practical side of this. How do you actually act as if everything always works out for you? What does that look like in daily life? It starts with your thoughts. It starts with noticing when you're in fear or doubt and consciously choosing a different thought. When you catch yourself thinking, this is never going to work, you stop and say, actually, I choose to believe that this is working out perfectly. When you notice yourself worrying about the future, you bring yourself back to the present moment and remind yourself that right now, in this moment, you're okay, everything is okay, and you can trust that it will continue to be okay. It also means watching your language. The words you use shape your reality. If you're constantly saying things like, nothing ever works out for me, or I always get the short end of the stick, or life is so hard, you're reinforcing those beliefs. But if you start saying things like, things always work out for me, or I'm so lucky, or life supports me, you'll start to notice evidence that supports those statements instead. Your language creates your experience, so choose your words carefully. Acting as if everything always works out for you also means taking action even when you're not sure of the outcome. It means saying yes to opportunities that scare you a little bit. It means putting yourself out there even when there's no guarantee of success. It means trusting that even if things don't go exactly as planned, you'll handle it. You'll learn from it. You'll find a way. And that trust gives you the courage to take risks, to be bold, to live fully instead of playing it safe. Let me tell you something about miracles. Miracles aren't violations of natural law. They're expressions of a higher law that we don't fully understand yet. When you act as if everything always works out for you, you open yourself up to miracles. You create space for the unexpected, for the amazing, for the things that can't be explained by logic alone. I've seen it happen countless times. Someone is facing what seems like an impossible situation, but they maintain their trust. They keep acting as if it's all working out. And then something happens. An opportunity appears out of nowhere. A person shows up with exactly what they need. A solution presents itself that they never would have thought of. That's not luck, that's alignment. That's what happens when you're in the flow. I want to talk to you about the present moment, because this is really the only moment that matters. The past is gone. The future hasn't happened yet. All you ever have is right now. And when you act as if everything always works out for you, you bring that trust into this present moment. You don't spend your now worrying about tomorrow. You don't waste your now regretting yesterday. You're fully here, fully present, fully engaged with life as it's happening, and that presence is powerful. It allows you to respond to what's actually happening rather than reacting to what you think might happen or what you wish had happened. When you're present, you notice things you would otherwise miss. You see opportunities. You feel intuitive nudges. You make better decisions. You're more creative. You're more connected to others. You're more alive. And all of that contributes to things working out for you. Because when you're present and alert and open, you're in the best possible position to co-create with the universe. You're not lost in the past or future. You're right here, right now, available for whatever wants to come through you or to you. Let me share something with you about other people. When you act as if everything always works out for you, you inspire others. Your energy is contagious. People feel it. They're drawn to it. They want to be around you because you make them feel hopeful and alive. And that creates a positive feedback loop. The more you trust, the more you attract people and circumstances that validate that trust. You become a magnet for good things. not through manipulation or force, but through the simple power of your expectations and your energy. But here's something important. You can't control other people. You can only control yourself. Sometimes, acting as if everything works out for you means letting go of people who don't align with your vision. It means walking away from situations that drain you. It means setting boundaries. It means choosing yourself even when it's hard. Because trusting that things work out for you includes trusting that you'll be guided to the right people and circumstances and away from the wrong ones. It includes trusting that sometimes what looks like a loss is actually a necessary clearing, making space for something better. I want to talk to you about patience. When you act as if everything always works out for you, you develop patience. Not the kind of patience that's really just resignation or passive waiting, but the kind of patience that comes from deep trust. You know things are working out, so you don't need to force them or rush them. You can allow things to unfold in their own time. You understand that there's a gestation period for dreams, just like there's a gestation period for a baby. You can't rush it. You can't force it. You can only trust the process and do your part while the universe does its part. This patience is incredibly freeing. It takes the pressure off. You don't have to have everything figured out right now. You don't have to have achieved all your goals by a certain age. You don't have to compare your timeline to anyone else's. You can relax into the knowing that everything is happening in perfect timing. What's meant for you will come to you. Not necessarily when you want it, but exactly when you're ready for it. And acting as if everything always works out includes trusting that timing. Let me tell you about the power of questions. The questions you ask yourself determine what you focus on and what answers you find. If you ask yourself, why does this always happen to me? You'll find reasons to feel victimized. If you ask yourself, what's wrong with me? You'll find flaws. But if you ask yourself, how is this working out for me? Or what can I learn from this? Or where's the gift in this situation? You'll find different answers. You'll find empowering answers. You'll find answers that help you grow and move forward. Acting as if everything always works out for you includes asking better questions. It includes approaching life with curiosity rather than judgment. Instead of immediately deciding that something is bad or wrong, you ask, what if this is actually perfect? What if this is exactly what I need right now? That simple shift in questioning can reveal insights that were hidden when you were stuck in judgment and resistance. Now, I want to address something that's really important. Acting as if everything always works out for you doesn't mean you never feel negative emotions. It doesn't mean you're always happy and positive. That's not realistic and it's not healthy. What it means is that you don't get stuck in negative emotions. You feel them, you acknowledge them, and then you come back to trust. You might feel disappointed when something doesn't go the way you wanted, but underneath that disappointment, there's still a fundamental trust that it's all working out. You might feel afraid when you're facing uncertainty, but you don't let that fear stop you. You feel it and you move forward anyway, trusting that you'll be okay no matter what happens. This is emotional maturity. It's the ability to hold multiple truths at once. Yes, this situation is challenging, and yes, it's working out for me. Yes, I'm disappointed, and yes, I trust the process. Yes, I don't know what's going to happen, and yes, I believe it will be good. That's the kind of thinking that allows you to navigate life with grace and ease. That's what acting as if everything always works out looks like in practice. Let me tell you about the ripple effect of your trust. When you act as if everything always works out for you, you don't just change your own life, you change the lives of everyone around you. Your children learn to trust life by watching you trust life. Your friends gain courage from your courage. Your colleagues are inspired by your attitude. You become a beacon of hope in a world that often feels dark and uncertain. And that matters more than you know. Every person who learns to trust life creates a ripple effect that touches countless others. Think about the kind of world we could create if more people acted as if everything always works out for them. Think about how different things would be if people made decisions from trust instead of fear. If they took risks instead of playing it safe. If they treated each other with kindness because they believed there was enough for everyone. If they pursued their dreams with the confidence that they were supported by the universe. That's the world that's possible. And it starts with you. It starts with your decision to trust, to act as if, to believe that life is on your side. I want to remind you of something crucial. You are not your thoughts. You are not your circumstances. You are the awareness behind all of that. You are the one who observes your thoughts and chooses which ones to believe. You are the one who experiences circumstances and chooses what they mean. When you understand this, when you really get that you are the creator of your experience, everything changes. You realize that you have power. Not power over external events necessarily, but power over how you respond to them, power over what you focus on, power over the meaning you assign to things. And that power is everything. Acting as if everything always works out for you is an exercise of that power. It's you saying, I choose to interpret my life in a way that empowers me. I choose to believe in possibility rather than limitation. I choose to trust rather than fear. And every time you make that choice, you strengthen that power, you build that muscle. You become more and more the conscious creator of your reality. Let me talk to you about joy. When you act as if everything always works out for you, you become more joyful. Not because your circumstances are perfect, but because you're not in resistance to them. Joy isn't happiness dependent on conditions. Joy is a state of being that comes from alignment with your true nature. It's what emerges when you're not fighting with reality, when you're not consumed by worry, when you're not living in fear. It's your natural state. And acting as if everything works out clears away all the mental and emotional clutter that blocks your joy. It allows you to access that deeper state of well-being that's always there, underneath all the noise. And here's something beautiful. When you're joyful, you're more magnetic. You attract better things. You make better decisions. You're more creative and resourceful. You're healthier. Your relationships improve. Everything gets better when you're in a state of joy. So acting as if everything works out for you isn't just a nice idea. It's a practical strategy for creating a better life. It's one of the most intelligent things you can do. I want you to understand something about deserving. You might have been taught that you have to work hard to deserve good things. You might believe that suffering is noble or that struggle builds character. And while it's true that challenges can make you stronger, it's not true that you have to suffer to be worthy. You are worthy simply because you exist. You are a unique expression of the universe, and there will never be another you. That alone makes you infinitely valuable. You don't have to earn the right to have things work out for you. It's already yours. It's already been given. You just have to accept it. You just have to act as if you believe it. Let me tell you about surrender one more time because it's so important. Surrender doesn't mean giving up. It means giving in to the flow of life. It means stopping your struggle against what is and allowing yourself to be carried by a current that's much more powerful than you are. Think about swimming in the ocean. If you fight against the waves, you exhaust yourself. But if you relax and let the water support you, you can float effortlessly. That's what surrender feels like. That's what acting as if everything works out feels like. It's a release of tension, a softening, a letting go. And in that surrender, you find your true strength. Because you're no longer wasting energy on resistance. You're no longer depleting yourself with worry and doubt. Instead, you're aligned with the creative power of the universe. You're working with it, not against it. And that alignment gives you access to resources you didn't know you had. Solutions appear, doors open, help arrives, not because you're forcing it, but because you're allowing it. I want to leave you with this final thought. Your life is happening right now, not tomorrow, not someday when conditions are perfect, but right now. And every moment is a choice. You can choose to live in fear, or you can choose to live in trust. You can choose to see yourself as a victim of circumstances, or you can choose to see yourself as a powerful creator. You can choose to focus on what's wrong, or you can choose to focus on what's possible. And when you choose trust, when you act as if everything always works out for you, your entire life transforms. It doesn't happen overnight. It's a practice. It's something you return to again and again, especially when things get hard. But every time you choose trust over fear, you're building a new way of being. You're creating new neural pathways. You're establishing a new baseline. And over time, trust becomes your default. It becomes who you are. And from that place of trust, anything is possible. Miracles become ordinary. Dreams become reality. And life becomes the adventure it was always meant to be. So start today. Start right now. Look at whatever situation you're facing and ask yourself, what if this is working out perfectly for me? What if this is exactly what I need? and then act as if that's true. Make decisions from that place. Move forward from that place. Live from that place, and watch what happens. Watch how your life transforms when you trust it. Watch how the universe responds when you believe in it. Watch how you become when you remember who you really are, a powerful, creative, beloved being who is fully supported by all of life. Everything is always working out for you. It always has been. It always will be. The question is, will you act as if you believe it? Will you trust it? Will you let go of resistance and surrender to the flow? The choice is yours, and it's the most important choice you'll ever make. Choose trust. Choose faith. Choose to act as if everything always works out for you, and then watch the magic unfold.